the local level is unavailable. So to address this, the local survey based on the placed methods was conducted. This method is similar to the small area census, and it helps to map out economic activities. Data collection, data was collected, which involved creating a business directory and conducting surveys occurred between June and July 2019. In terms of data analysis, quantitative data was analyzed using Stata, and we calculated descriptive statistics like averages and frequencies to get a general overview. And to understand relationships between variables, we created a correlation matrix, and the PCA analysis was also used to explore hidden patterns and relationships within the data. The data set comprises of 173 observations across 13 variables. These variables are all binary, coded as 1 or 2, and measures different aspects of innovation activities. In terms of research findings, the research found that men dominate the informal construction sector in Sweetwaters with 72% of businesses. Informal builders possess a wide range of skills, including bricklaying, plumbing, and welding. Many informal builders have limited formal education, and they often rely on the job training. They have only completed junior certificates at 41%, and or school living certificates at 34%. Informal business owners say they often face challenges with cash flow and customers delaying payments. Their annual income was between 29,973. Informal construction businesses in the study area are innovative in material use. They innovate because of customer demand, bringing in tools, machinery, and equipment, and finding new suppliers of raw materials and tools. Majority of innovations in the informal construction sector are not entirely new, but are adaptations tailored to the local context, and a small percentage of 1% introduced groundbreaking innovation. Okay. The principal component analysis emphasized, the PCA analysis gave us three results, or three components. Component 1 emphasizes the adoption of new technologies and equipment. Component 2 highlights the training and knowledge development, and component 3 focuses on seeking out new ideas. We use the LEAPS framework to measure interactions between actors in the local innovation systems. The interactions, two interactions came up: the strongest links and the limited interaction. So the most frequent interaction was between business owners and customers, demonstrating the demand-driven nature of the sector. There was a limited interaction with formal institutions like universities and government agencies, as well as informal sources like indigenous knowledge practitioners and NGOs. Self-reliance, informal businesses primarily relied on their own networks and resources, suggesting a lack of formal support and training. Barriers to innovation, political and owner-manager factors are a major obstacles of informal businesses. Economic and environmental factors have a lesser impact on innovation. In conclusion, many informal builders rely on self-taught skills highlighting a need for formal training. Low educational levels among business owners can hinder business growth. Economic constraints, low profit margins and delayed payments limit financial sustainability. Limited access to formal financing creates barriers to business growth. Innovation and adoption. Innovation is driven by the adoption of new technologies and techniques. Strong customer relationships and demand-driven practices are key to the sector's reliance. In terms of the originality of the research, the aim of the study was to investigate innovation within the informal construction sector in Sweetwater's KwaZulu-Natal. Existing research has explored innovation in the formal construction sector in South Africa. So little is known about how informal construction business owners innovate. Policy implications, 4 came out. Policies should target training programs to address specific skills gap identified in the sector. Knowledge sharing platforms facilitated by collaboration and innovation among informal builders, support for access to finance, explore ways to improve access to financial services for informal businesses, as well as develop policies that support the growth and sustainability of the informal construction sector. Ke a leboha.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was excellent time management. That was exactly 10 minutes of presentation. Yes, we can take a couple of questions.
Thank you, Setsohang. I only have 2 questions. One is the firms that, or the informal businesses that you looked at, what are the sizes of these businesses, first of all? Secondly, do they actually know that they are innovating when they go out there looking for work? You know, do they actually sit down and say, okay, we need to innovate somehow with our, maybe our tools or our approach? And lastly, I saw that there was 1.1% of the businesses that had introduced new to the world innovation. How do they actually know that this innovation is new to the world? You know, thanks.
Any other questions? There is a question over there.
Thank you, Ausi, for the presentation and the interesting study. I think if I may just go to your recommendations, you indicated that the policy need also to focus on the skills element to capacitate those informal businesses. Is it because they are not aware of there are those systems in place and in terms of how they can actually access them? Thanks.
You may respond, ma'am.
All right. Thank you for the questions. The sizes of the informal construction businesses is from 1 to 2. It starts from 1. Sometimes it's just one person having their own businesses and employing someone who also has skills in the construction sector. Do they know that they are innovating? Some of them know, some they do because they are innovating because innovation to them is a way of how can I put it? If they are faced with a challenge, or maybe their business is not making any profits, they try to bring in new tools or new ways of making the business survive. That's how they are innovating. It's not like they are doing that because they know that it's innovation, but they're just doing it in terms of overcoming that challenge at that moment. In terms of the skills, is it because they are not aware? I would say it's because they are not aware that the skills are not there. I don't know if I answer your question correctly.
Sorry, I just wanted the 1.1% of businesses that introduce new to the world innovation, do they know that this is, how do they know that surely this is new to the world?
It's because it's something that it's new to the world in their local areas because it's something that was not done before. It's something that they have seen, they have seen like somewhere else and then they implement it in their own local area. So it's new in that way.
May I ask a question online? I don't see where I can raise my hand.
Yes.
One. I just want to ask the guys to ask. I heard you say they're innovating because they have no other access to other tools. But isn't that, I don't know whether you looked at the concept of below the radar innovation, because we know that we all expect innovation to come from the frontiers of science, which are mostly the richer nations. Whereas we know, in fact, that resource poor settings actually do drive this innovation and that actually uses some indigenous project designs that are less expensive and easier to use. And more importantly, they require less infrastructure. I think it was Christensen sometime in the 90s who said that to a large extent, disruptive technologies are usually adopted by the least profitable customers in a market. And these indigenous, these small-scale informal builders I would classify them in that field. So I don't know, my question perhaps a comment, and goes to try and enrich, look at the concept of what is called below radar innovation. Thank you, that's my contribution.
Thank you, Prof.
I'm far from being a prof, very far.
No, thank you, Dr. Vuyo. Right. I think that was more of a comment, unless you would like to respond.
Yes, it's more of a comment. I will look into it, Prof. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. No, thank you very much. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. Thank you so much for your presentation, lovely presentation, and the accompanying questions. Thank you.
Yes.
Right. Our next presentation is from Dr. Spamandla Mhlongo. Do we have Spamandla Mhlongo here, or is Mhlongo online?
Yes, I am, Chair.
Or online, yes. May you please fly to your presentation and then you can go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Remember, you only have 10 minutes.
Okay, please let me know if you can see my presentation
Yeah, we can
or
see
see
your
my
screen.
screen.
Yeah, is that your presentation? It's an Excel spreadsheet.
Sorry, I'm multitasking. I've now.
Okay. Yeah, we don't want to see your pay slip, eh?
It's towards month end. I'm preparing invoices. Thank you very much, Jay. And greetings to the honorable colleagues. I'm Spamanda Mhlongo, and I'll be presenting a paper on socio-economic benefits of triple P for municipal water supply. The study area particularly is Emalahleni local municipality. So in the main, the study looks at
Sorry, we can't see your presentation. Sorry for interrupting. May you please have your presentation on screen?
oh, I'm now
Excel spreadsheet.
okay. I'm now sharing my screen. I'm now sharing this presentation itself right now. So it's still showing the spreadsheet.
Yes.
Is it? Okay, let me escape here. Let me minimize that. Can you see my presentation now?
No.
Sharing screen is paused. Why? Okay, I'll say stop. I'll stop sharing and then share again.
Okay.
Sure. Okay, I'm opening my spreadsheet. Can you see my presentation now?
No.
How? Johnny. Johnny between. Okay, let me show that. Share that. Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes. Yeah. Just have it on presentation mode and then you can proceed. Thank you.
It is on presentation mode on my side.
Okay, no, it's okay.
Okay. Again, greetings, colleagues. My presentation is basically on socio-economic benefits of triple P for municipal water supply in a local municipality at Emalahleni local municipality. Emalahleni is based in Mpumalanga province in the Highveld. So basically, it's a case study of triple P models that the municipality has embarked upon as a way of water augmentation. So basically, I'll be presenting the socio-economic benefits of those initiatives. I'll skip the outline. So the research problem in main, as we all know, that there's water scarcity, in our country. It has been said, however, that water crisis is not due to scarcity, but rather mismanagement and lack of innovation. Water in itself, it has an economic value, and it promotes sustainability and economic growth. It enhances investment and competitiveness, and it's also a very critical instrument for poverty alleviation. So what are the challenges that the water utilities are facing that probably Emalahleni was trying to resolve given the initiative that they embarked upon? One, water scarcity relates to water security. So this could be issues of climate change, the geological formation of the area is scarce, and is less water endowed in whatever form. There are also technical inefficiencies that are also adding the impact of the challenges, may be aging infrastructure, ineffective infrastructure asset management, shortage of skills, limited operational resources, and so on. There are also critical issues of financial stability, which relates to inability of the institutions making new investments, and then also being unable to address the imbalance between asset deterioration and maintenance as well. There's also a declining public investment, which is mainly based to limited project infrastructure avenues. So we know that most of the government institutions are mainly relying on grants as a form of project financing, and there's limited exploration of private sector investments because of their status of their balance sheets and the like. So and there's also very low revenue generation due to a number of socioeconomic factors that leads to that. So they are mainly grant dependent. Triple P has somehow became one of the critical factors in terms of coming up with innovative project financing models. But when it comes to water, it also having its own challenges, some of which being socio-political sensitivity around it, public resistance, and then also high capital intensive. The infrastructure is high capital intensive, and the commercial institutions are not looking at a long term of return on investment, and yet the tariffs for water supply services are low. So there's long fixed maturity and low returns as well, which affects the appetite of the investors to have an appetite towards the water infrastructure. And there's a long development periods depending on how the budgets are allocated and the like, and then they also have adverse effects on the fruitful effects of the initiatives. So in a nutshell, those are some of the problems, but it's really in a nutshell. The purpose of research therefore is the study was aimed at one is to analyze the socio-economic benefits of the municipal initiative or the value of water provided against the economic perspective. So we're trying to decouple the contribution of water services towards the economic growth. And then if one was to have specific objectives on that one, I'll just highlight that I personally looked at water efficiencies of external water supply. So basically looking at the schemes that the municipality introduced into the system, and then the decoupling and decomposition of economic benefits from water supply schemes, and then to analyze the socio-economic benefits of the Triple P thereunto. So as I said, the municipality, the case study is based at Emalahleni local municipality, which is a water-stressed mining town, where about 70% of the coal energy generation is based on that region. So there's a high influx of people looking for job opportunities, either on mining as well as at the power stations, and that increases the water demand. And unfortunately, the area is not water endowed, in as far as there are no alternative water supply sources where one can consider maybe intercatchment transfer. There's also very limited exploration of groundwater. There are basically limited options that one can possibly consider, and then hence probably one is zooming to what the municipality has considered. The municipality has then utilized the two models as one of the main water augmentation schemes. One is the use of the mine water reclamation schemes. Two is the use of the modular package plants. So since we're in the mining region, you will know that there were in some years ago there were issues of acid mine drainage. So most of the mining of houses they actually invest a lot in addressing issues of the decanting of the acid mine drainage. So they then treat water such that it's environmentally friendly to the nearby water sources. So what then the municipality did was to engage them to say, how about you treat this water to a potable standard and serve and let it serve as a water augmentation to their locality. So that is one. Two is it's the use of modular package plants. Modular package plants is mainly a containerized type of water treatment plants, so which is not centralized type of water treatment plants. So whereby there's no major bulk infrastructure, no conventional water treatment plants or wastewater treatment plants that are built. As opposed to that, they built the containerized ones, which are centralized to where the need is based, and then that is established on a triple P model, which is basically a design, build, operation, it's not own and operate, not to transfer. Design, build, own and operate. So whereby this was a good model whereby the municipality did not necessarily have to put any capital investment in advance, but they somehow model everything within what they can pay on monthly basis, which was a more affordable a way of servicing the investment. But in a way, there was a meaningful investment towards water augmentation. The research methodology, as I said, is based on
Dr. Mhlongo, we are running out of time. If you can just maybe skip your methodology, just summarize your results, and then we can conclude.
Okay, no, it's fine. And then, okay. The study basically it looked at I basically looked at water efficiencies as one of the ways of analyzing the efficiency of the interventions made. The study reflected that the municipality is mainly reliant on internal schemes. That's basically because the main schemes are built at a bigger volume as opposed to the current augmentation schemes. But there is a growing dependency on the external schemes because there's limited capacity on the available resource, and then there's also external schemes. Also, the external schemes are playing a critical role on ensuring the water security. That could be depicted on the picture that I have on my right. You can see that the water dependency is slightly growing, even though it's at a very low, lowest margin, but it's slightly, having a positive growth. And then the self-sufficiency as well is also on the 80% OSN plus, and then the water security after adding the external schemes is then how the picture depicts. And then the external schemes are more critical and on the distribution network. I must also indicate that this is special because the water network is not introduced on the integrated system. Some of the schemes are dedicated to a particular community, so their dependence and their role, their impact is more critical depending on where the scheme is dedicated at. Why is it frozen now?
Please go on to your concluding remarks, Dr. Mhlongo. We have run out of time. If you can just
conclude.
Sorry.
Okay, on this one, I also used. Okay, sorry. I looked at the decoupling and the methods, which is type of decoupling model, and then I also looked at the logarithmic media Divinia index, and then as a conclusion, this is what the picture depicts. External schemes have a small contribution in volume as compared to the internal schemes. The external schemes had a critical role in improving the water security and growing the dependence. The growth in dependence was also witnessed. When the external schemes had minimal contribution on the economic growth when you look at it from the Tapio decoupling model. However, when you use an LMDI, the decomposition shows that there was a 50-50 split. So meaning when whatever the contribution that would or volume of the volume that was introduced into the system, was all the 50% of that was going towards economic growth, and then the balance was going to the community. So meaning as much as the volume is still small, however, the external schemes are having a positive contribution towards the economic growth, and also having a vital impact on the community as well. The results therefore indicate that there is a great potential for Triple P's water supply schemes to be considered, and then external water supply schemes are also critical to ensure the success of the socio-economic social economy of the community that they are served under. And then the originality of the research. The research is based on a case study which is verifiable on a relevant institution. The data used is obtainable from the Department of Water and Sanitation no drop system. Some of it is also, some information is obtained from the IDP of the municipality, as well as state SA data in as far as the economic data was concerned. And then the method used is proven scientific application that is mainly used for for quantifying the carbon emissions against the economic impact. So that's basically the method that I use for decoupling and decomposition of a water supply and the economy in this instance. And then in the policy implications of the results can be used as a KPI for measuring the impact of water security against the economy. Can also be used as a forecast of the economic impact of water supply against the GDP of the particular area. Can be used as to ensure sustainable water supply management, and also can be used for public awareness and engagement. I'm very sorry.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was the marathon presentation, and we apologize for that. Yeah, because we actually do not have time. We have run out of time, and unfortunately, we are not going to go into a question and answer session. Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Mhlongo. Our next presentation is from Dr. Chishonga. It's 10 minutes to 3 now. It means we have exactly 10 minutes. And if we're unable to go on to the next presentation, we would talk to the organizing committee, perhaps, and see if we can slot this other presentation tomorrow, unfortunately.
This one, yeah, no, this closing gap.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eve Mafema. I'm taking over the people who are supposed to present this paper, not here. We are looking at the closing the digital gap through participatory platforms at local government level. The research problem for this paper is that there is a limited understanding of digital platforms' effectiveness in civic engagement, social capital building, democratic participation, and the key challenges are digital literacy, gaps, trust building issues, implementation barriers, and there's a need to evaluate the impact on government-citizen relationships, platform effectiveness, and community collaboration. The purpose of the research is to evaluate the effectiveness of digital participatory platforms in reducing digital divide at local government level, because we tend to find this gap happening. Most people have no access to IT. We also the paper also examines the role of digital platforms in community engagement, impact of government-citizen communication, barriers to platform adoption in rural and remote areas. To analyze case studies from Cape Town, the paper has 2 case studies, Cape Town and eThekwini, to assess current usage patterns of e-participation platforms, accessibility challenges, privacy, security concerns, digital literacy barriers. And the next one is to contribute to limited literature on digital platform effectiveness in local governance, to apply theoretical frameworks such as deliberative democracy theory, network society theory, and social capital theory. The research methodology that was used was qualitative in nature. The paper used desktop research methods using sourcing its information from Google Scholar, JSTOR, and systematic literature review. Data was analyzed thematically, and the research design focused on secondary data and systematic examination. The scope of the research was on local government level, digital participation platform, and gap analysis focus. Thank you.
Okay, colleagues, in terms of the results of the 2 case studies which has been presented, for some of us who are from Cape Town, therefore you will be able to be conversed. I mean, Cape Town is one of the cities which has been acknowledged internationally. For example, making a case of 2016, where this city was regarded as a smart city. What is a smart city in nutshell? It is the city which uses innovation, the city which uses information in order to make sure that the lives of the people are improved. Then the city of Cape Town is among the few in the world or in Africa which make use of the participatory, digital participatory platform. We're able to see that to a limited extent, therefore, there are some services which are more offered at the e-space. Therefore, this paper talks about the digital platforms which also take into account the digital infrastructure. What are some of the challenges? When we talk about the digital spaces, especially when we locate them within the sphere or the realm of making sure that people, they engage, we even go beyond that in order to make sure that, I mean, the utilization of this platform, also, they solve the problems which the city itself is also struggling. If you look, although it is not the recent statistic, 29 unemployment, especially when you look at the outskirts of Cape Town, you look at Google it, you look at Kailicha, and some of those informal settlement around the city, you are able to see the issue of the informal settlement, I mean, being an issue, the issue of the social inequality. You remember that Cape Town is more dominated by, or is under the DA and also dominated at the rural setting by the Black folks. Then what is the response to some of these issues? Is to make sure, is to activate their IDP and to make sure that you improve the infrastructure. For example, when you look at the, I mean, the townships, the infrastructure is so much bad that it degenerate into some of the problems which the city of Cape Town is grappling with. And again, we need to recall the triple challenges of poverty and unemployment which affect the city. And if again we look at this paper, is to make sure that we close the digital gap by making sure that there is an inclusion. But when we talk about the inclusion to the people who are also struggling with ordinary basic services, therefore that becomes very, it becomes very an issue in a way. Do they have opportunities? You find that the opportunities are very unequal in the process. And this paper or the adoption of the digital participatory platform is to make sure that some of these barriers, you find that the majority of the people in the city of Cape Town, they are more illiterate when it comes to the digital related issues. What is the infrastructure which I talked about, or this paper talked about? The fail of the ICT project to reach people. And we are saying that that is very much important. That has got an impact in terms of when we look at the participation, which is, throughout the IDPs of the two provinces, public participation or citizen participation, it is more encouraged. Therefore, we are able to see without activating those mechanisms, which means the communities, they tend to be more marginalized. The city in which this conference is hosted, which is eThekwini, there is an adoption of the participatory or the digital participatory mechanism, especially when you're looking at the online service delivery. But what are the limitations of those? Or what are the achievements which has been done in terms of that? We're able to see that, especially when you look at the electricity, water, the usage of the digital platform is more effective than other areas as well. The improvement of the response time, especially when you report water, you find that the city will respond timelessly to that, and also that also increases the transparency of the city itself. But there are some challenges. We indicated that when you look at eThekwini, since the amalgamation of the Durban into the new dispensation, we're able to see that there are some people in the rural areas, even in the urban areas, who are not making use of, or they are unable to access these digital technologies at the same time. Earlier on, I talked about something which is similar to Cape Town. The issue of the digital illiteracy becomes a concern. But in the online spaces, the issue of privacy is not there. How do the municipalities handle such information? The issue of the trust deficit amongst, otherwise we wouldn't have the multiplication of the protest if those platforms are working at the same time. There is an issue across. What is the role of this? The role of this digital platform, they increase decision making. Hence, we indicated that, local government exists in order to improve the interactive governance. Is that happening? Does it happen when you are looking the traditional way of doing things? Hence, we argue in this paper that this is not a matter of discarding the traditional way of doing things, because this digital platform, they are not often used to the advantageously to the whole population, especially those who are staying at the outskirts of the city itself. There are some barriers as a result of that. We talked earlier on about the decision making. Are ordinary people able to influence the policies of the municipality by participating, by giving their input? That becomes an issue. And if we are saying that there is democratization of these spaces, we'll be in a position that the concern which are lodged to the municipality, there is a spontaneous response to them. And as the definition of the smart city is not only about developing what you call the integrated human settlement. We're talking about the waste management. How can the waste management be managed? We're talking about the issue of security. When you go out there, are you going to be marked? Is there any digital ways of mechanism in which citizens, they are able to be at home? And therefore, we indicated that it is important that it's not only about adopting this mechanism, but also it's to make sure that these mechanisms are used in order to make sure that the citizen, they benefit, and democracy, it is prevail. And again, I indicated that there are many mechanisms, different names, as you can see there, which have been put forward in order to make sure that government becomes more accessible in a way. if we adopt that and it is democratized, therefore the outcome of that, it will be about collaborative planning, citizen-based governance at the same time. In the AI, in the fourth industrial revolution, we are talking about that there is an e-space, e-planning, e-citizenship, and also e-governance. And it is very much important in this context of this paper. Hence, we look at what is the relevance of these participatory spaces? And why is it important?
Okay, so,
and as we can
sorry,
see that it is indeed,
good now.
And in the interest of time, we are just going to end here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, let's give a round of applause to all our presenters. And apologies, colleagues, for rushing you so much. And unfortunately, we won't have a question and answer session because there is a group that is waiting outside to come in. And Mr. Govinda, you are going to be accommodated tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Breakaway room, Glenwood and Hilton. So we have 15 to 20 minutes there, right? And then there is another group that is going to come in at that slot. And then Dr. Ayodele's group will then come in. Fortunately, they won't have 1 hour. They'll also have 15 minutes tomorrow. So that's how we're going to do it, because we need to accommodate everyone. Otherwise, thank you, colleagues, for attending this session. We will close it now because we're now moving on to our next session, which is, then people are waiting outside. Thank you so much.
Yes, you can. Colleagues, we're just going to wait for the others to come in. It's supposed to be a panel discussion. So everyone else is coming this side. Should they come? Okay. Oh, yeah.
Down it. Yeah, that's enough.
In fact, colleagues, we're supposed to be joined by the others. Everyone is supposed to finish that side, then they come this side. Yeah. So that's how it should be. But we could we could start. They still fine. Doc, you had how many people were remaining in your session? One, two? Only one. Okay. Do you want us to accommodate that person while we wait for this one? Or we just do it for tomorrow, like you suggested?
Yeah, we don't want to rush.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So, but you know, he took months and months of preparation. He has to present tomorrow, definitely. We can, are they coming? Okay, okay, okay. So let's just wait for them. So, the format, do you want to contribute to that? Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay, okay. Any questions? The question, the answer to the question.
Do you want to mute three? No, not three, four. Two, no. Four, mute five. Two. Yeah, what channel is this? Two. Yeah.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, colleagues. And I can see we're still all very, majority of us are here. We're going to discuss right now citizenship, democracy, and artificial intelligence. So we've got a panel, it's going to be a panel discussion. And I have here, there's Kavisha, there's Meron, and Lonwabo. They're going to be talking about artificial intelligence in terms of the challenges and opportunities that it presents. So we know, someone was talking to me the other day, was saying that, with this technology, there are always those threats, obviously. You can be hacked, many things that can happen, isn't it? Privacy are also an issue with regards to that, and also the issues of individual rights. So they're going to talk, these are the specialists, they're going to guide us, and at the end, we're going to pose questions to them. Kavisha, you're going to start with your discussion. Thank you.
Well, the public sector environment, it's not a simple transaction where we can say government provides a service to citizens and that can improve that service with technology. It's much more than that. Sustainable development is about improving the livelihoods of people. And this is not only through a service to citizens, but how it can also reduce poverty, unemployment, improve education. Ultimately, all of these functions contribute to sustainability. And these issues are complex issues. AI is a possible outcome of innovation, and its potential is great because of its functionality. Unlike other technologies, AI has an array of possibilities, from things as simple as how to respond to an email, or to compiling an advanced report, or even having a conversation. So to get to that outcome of AI technology, we need to take a few steps back and first understand, how can we get there? How can we get this desired outcome of artificial intelligence? Digitalization and digital transformation, it's two concepts. Digitalization transforms information into a digital format, and it's the adoption of connected digital technologies and applications. Now, this presents its own set of challenges for South Africa. Firstly, it's affordability. Our budgets are constrained. We have high inequality rate where a large part of the population, they don't have access to or can't afford digital technologies. So although digital technology aims to improve efficiency, there still exists a gap in skills and usability. In digital transformation, I think the operative word would be transformation. And this often involves transformation of key business operations, and it affects products and processes, as well as organizational structures and management concepts. Digital transformation and strategies focus on transformation of products and processes and organizational aspects that lead to new technologies. We often only see the end results of technology. And when we look at, we have to look at the bigger picture of innovation. It's those initial sparks of creativity that can result in big innovations that we see in our daily lives. The bigger picture of innovation, which we can call the innovation cycle. This can be defined as first generating a concept for the innovation, developing that concept, and finally implementing that concept. Innovation is very important for digital transformation because it's the way in which we develop innovations results in products and processes that people actually use. The more we innovate, which doesn't happen much in South Africa as much as it should, the greater chance there is of developing more innovations. Although there's a better chance of meeting citizen needs, sometimes you may not need a high-tech solution. Look at people in the greater parts of South Africa in healthcare, for instance. Most accessible to them is WhatsApp instead of a high-tech app. As with last week, I was facilitating a design thinking session in healthcare, and one of the problems we were looking at is dispensation of chronic medication. And when we use design thinking to use that, to develop that solution, They found that just developing something as a barcode and communicating through WhatsApp was one of the best solutions. So I would say in the public sector, one of the challenges is that they need to acknowledge that they are the people who need to have the skills for getting involved in innovation and being able to identify areas for innovation. An opportunity for growth in the public sector is a collaborative effort with government officials, entrepreneurs, and academia. Right now, it's very siloed. There are programs for certain things. There has to be a degree of flexibility. It's very difficult in the current environment, and innovation is about active experimentation. And we need to build those networks. Currently in Durban, I don't see a network that we have where people can work together, where people are actually innovating. It's in those networks that innovation thrives. Another challenge is that government doesn't actually invest in entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are the people that have the skills to work with the public and the private sector. Innovation in South Africa is still a level of promoting innovation and entrepreneurship rather than actively innovating in the real world.
You can go ahead, Meron. Yes. We're going to take questions at the end, colleagues. Is that okay?
Thank you, Chair. My name is Meron Okbandres. I am from UWC, senior lecturer. This is an important topic because it's very topical. A lot of us are worried about the impact of AI. What's AI and how does it relate to automation and other technologies? So it's important questions, and this platform provides an opportunity to discuss these issues and raise concerns and opportunities. So AI is just another tool that we have in the last 5-6 years. If you old enough to remember the introduction of internet, a lot of us were worried about the impact of it, how it impacts our jobs, employment in general, getting the necessary skills to participate in internet-related, jobs. So all of us had worries about these issues. Now, the latest worrying aspect is AI, but AI has been with us for quite some time. AI has been making a decision for us. If you, for instance, browse the internet about one service product, we get flooded with a lot of information about that product or service. So AI has been with us for quite some time. Maybe the application of it precedes awareness of it. So it's important to ask what are the opportunities and the challenges when it comes to AI, especially when it comes to democracy and governance in general. So one of the most important contributions of AI is data-driven decision-making. Government generates a lot of data. Data in terms of personal data, status, financial information. So if you combine all those data, you can understand trends, patterns, behavior. Based on that, you can actually tailor-make services to suit individuals, communities. So there are a lot of possibilities in this regard. If you can imagine SARS drawing data from your social media accounts, your financial information, your property ownership, and combine all those data to make a decision about your lifestyle compared to your tax bracket, that would actually impact a lot of us. A lot of us would be unhappy about these things. So there are a lot of possibilities. Also, it helps us identify corruption, unlawful behavior, So in terms of data-driven decision-making, AI could help us a lot. We're talking about open data environment. This is very important. A lot of municipalities, government departments are experimenting with open data. For instance, Treasury has open data platform where you can access it with permission. Municipalities, the city of Cape Town has open data platform. eThekwini municipality, Durban Age, to a certain extent, it's an open data platform. So all those, open data platforms help us in terms of understanding where government is and how government is planning to, implement certain strategies, policies. On top of that, you can actually help businesses use the data and come up with new way of doing business. So I think open data environment is quite important to actually maximize the benefits of artificial intelligence. Personalized public services, like I said earlier, you can actually tailor-make certain services that suit individuals at a municipal level. For instance, you would get an individual service from your municipality in terms of your municipal services, your electricity, your water, your rate payment, any kind of repairs that you require from the municipality. So there are different ways of tailor-making services to suit an individual or communities. Increase the transparency. That's one of the most important aspects of AI. AI can help identify issues of importance to the public and put them and publish them for the public to see. So that's an important aspect of AI. Combating misinformation. At the moment, in the US election, Facebook, Google are actively working on combating misinformation. They identify bots and other platforms that actually work on the currency of misinformation. So that's one way of enhancing the use of AI in public participation. In terms of better informing, encouraging citizens to actually also tailor-making certain information for citizens and potential voters. So there are ways to actually experiment with this and help small parties to actually put their message out there. So there are ways actually to enhance AI information for voters. What are the concerns? The main concern is privacy. Am I right? All of us are worried about the nature of information that's being collected, how that information is processed, distributed. Who has access to that information? Ultimately, the question that we all ask is, who guards the guardians? Am I right? Our spy agencies are collecting a lot of information. So all those concerns are real. They are not exaggerated. For instance, there was a lot of report about NSI, the US spy agencies collecting information. For instance, if you write information or in your cell phone, if you utter the word, kill the president, you're automatically flagged. Or if you talk about bombs, for instance, in your conversation, that picks up the AI, the algorithm that informs the AI would actually pick you as a suspect. So we are all worried about in terms of how information is collected and who manages that information. how the information is utilized. The other thing is bias and inequality. AI depends on the designer in terms of its values. So the AI would have the values of the designer of that AI, the bias of the designer. Also the data collection, because AI depends ultimately, for AI to learn, it depends on the data collected and how it makes sense of the data. So if the data collected is biased, the decision making by that AI would be biased as well. So that's the concerns that we have. Also, most of the AI products that we use are designed somewhere else. And they have the values and the biases of those designers. So that's also another concern that we have. Erosion of human agency. AI might be good when it comes to program decision making, where the human perspective is not important. When the human perspective is important, AI finds it difficult to adapt, to make a decision. So when we use AI a lot, we're taking out the human agency from decision making, and that's problematic in some aspects. The major issue when it comes to AI is the digital divide. Some of us can actually make sense of AI or benefit from AI. Others don't have the resources as well as the know-how to actually benefit from AI. So we need to actually look at deliberate ways of coming up with policies, initiatives to include those that are disadvantaged, those who do not have the resources. As a role, when new technologies are introduced, they benefit those people with resources. So people who doesn't have the resources are left out from the advantages of AI or other technologies. So that's one other concern. Thank you.
Thank you. Greetings, colleagues. So my name is Leon Obensinde. I'm a digital application innovation specialist at Microsoft. I know in my title there's the word innovation, and we've been speaking about what does innovation mean the whole day. Before I kick off, maybe I'd like to appreciate the crowd here today. I know I'm in the presence of great minds, so maybe one applause for everyone that's in here and all the presentation. Thank you. So I definitely appreciate the conversations that have been happening here today. And where I mostly come in is the implementation part, right? There's a lot of scholars in here, and there's a lot of need for that. With what we have with artificial intelligence, we need to look at catering it for the African context. A lot of leaders currently in AI are outside of Africa. So I think it's the time for us to start looking at, in the African context, how can we start using AI to advance the public sector, the private sector, and everyone in our continent. I loved one of the speakers earlier on speaking about triple P, public sector, private sector partnership. I think that's the first way of trying to circumvent what's happening globally and trying to learn from each other. But we must also understand that even amongst the public sector entities, there's a lot of learning that can happen amongst those entities. I was privileged to be part of a seminar where we brought in different speakers in the technology space. And we had delegates from Western Cape Government, Northwest, Gauteng, KZN, and a lot of learnings from there, from the solutions that there's a lot of solutions that are built by different provinces that we could leverage. We had that partnership. So Western Cape Government spoke about eGov, right? They're doing that a lot, and they're very good at that. but what learnings can we take as province from the Western Cape? What learnings can we take from Gauteng provincial government in terms of the solutions that they laying the ground for? Because I think in terms of skill sets, as much as we think we don't have some of those, we have them, but it's in pockets. So I think that collaboration amongst the different provinces is quite important. And as I mentioned, I usually come in the end of the whole cycle where they need to actually implement it. And the one thing that we've picked up is that skills shortage amongst people that want to implement this. Also looking at strategies within the different departments. They're actually looking for strategies from higher power, from the government. But I think as collectives, as people in this room, we can start putting together those strategies and deliberate on those to get us moving. There's some important principles when you speak about artificial intelligence. I'll mention a few. There's 6 of them that we at Microsoft focus on when we're looking at AI. One of them is inclusiveness. Inclusiveness is quite important because that you're building it inclusively for everyone. The second one is around accountability. So when you are embarking on building an AI system, you need to know that you're accountable for that system. You need to know that you're accountable for the data that's in that system. You're accountable to make sure that you understand what that system does. The third one, I won't get to all 6 of them, but you can look them up. It's called Responsible AI Principles. And I think if we start with that, when we're thinking about AI, we can go far, because that could be the foundation of great things that we can look at in the African context. There are certain companies that are starting to look at African models. So they're grounding their models on African languages. So for example, there's a company called Lelapa AI. What they're doing is they're doing a lot of research around languages in Africa and how we can start using that to ground these models on African context. So some of those brilliant pockets that I was speaking about, if we start combining that and looking at a way forward for citizens, with citizens, making sure that the data that we also taking from the citizens, we are accountable for that. Looking at obviously existing policies like the POPI Act and looking at how we need to incorporate AI into that act. So there's a lot of things that obviously in the ground that we need to start doing. There's a lot of work which I've been looking at today that is amazing. And in terms of also collaborating and making sure that the people that we need now to start implementing the systems come from Africa. So we can look at things like hackathons where we bring in people that have got these great ideas. How can they start implementing these ideas based on the foundation that you've laid here? How can they start building your next version of what you'd call a ChatGPT? Because the next big thing needs to come from Africa. We don't need to be using what's already out there. We need to be breaking frontiers. We need to be leading the pack because we've got the capability. Thank you.
I'm glad that you appreciate this panel, right? I could hear from you. The way you're clapping. Yes. Now, we will start with the round of questions, but I want to also ask the panelists, and I know obviously with AI and its influence, and you mentioned the POPI, the act, in the sense that I drive to, for instance, go to the pavilion, I start getting adverts already, from various companies. They already know you are in the area, And then if you look at FNB, for instance, as an example, they know you much better than perhaps you know yourself. They know you. That's why it doesn't take them even 30 minutes to approve your loan, for instance. They've got lots of information on you as well already in terms of your income, your expenditures, if you bank with them. And the patterns, obviously, wherever you buy, obviously, they have all that information. So those are the concerns that people could have. And also, Meron also spoke about the concerns with respect to that the creators of that software or the AI, it has those biases. So that's why we say even AI can be racist, isn't it? Depending on the people who are, yeah, it can be racist, it can be. So those are the things. So that's what the colleague from Microsoft was saying. We have to create our own software. But my question relates to, and also we see these insurance companies, they're always, where they get all your information, your numbers, your cell numbers, they're calling you with new products. So those are the issues. But my concern only, I want to ask the panelists to talk about when AI hallucinates. Yeah, I want an answer to that. What should we do? I do understand it can hallucinate. Thank you.
I'll go first. So hallucination, obviously, just to first define what that means when AI hallucinates. So it is when you ask it a question, and instead of saying it doesn't know, it gives you something wrong. So what's important around avoiding hallucination is making sure that you abide by the principles that you're trying to solve. So for example, if you know that your AI is focusing on maths and it should know everything that it should know about maths, you need to make sure that you've got guardrails for that AI. So because AI is, it doesn't work on its own in isolation, it's man-made, right? So as the person who's creating that AI, you need to ground it in maths. You need to make sure that it doesn't wander and try and get answers outside of what it's supposed to do. So that's one of the ways that you can try and reduce hallucination. And not, obviously, you can't completely get rid of it, but is have guardrails in place to make sure that what you're solving, you have it grounded in that. Thank you.
Hallucination. Well, AI works within a certain parameter, within a learned parameter. So if it doesn't have that information, it probably give you the wrong information. It also depends on how you ask and what you ask. So we have this concern about AI being self-aware, go beyond the human intelligence. I don't think we are close to that. And that's why when you look at self-driving cars, they program them, this looks like a human being. If you see a human being, you need to stop. If the self-driving car encounters something it doesn't know, you just go through it. So it operates on the principle that certain things are known, and the response to these things are no, or this. So you need to ask the right questions, and the way you ask is important. Thank you.
I think an important thing for us to understand is that AI doesn't replace human understanding. And a lot of people have been excited with AI and things like ChatGPT and other things, and expecting it to do things for us. So we have to be cautious in the way we do it, especially even with research. A lot of people are becoming dependent on AI for doing research. I tried doing it, using it to do my references, and it's a good thing I cross-check my references because all of it was wrong. I had to do it over manually again. Yeah, so it doesn't replace human understanding, and you have to first have an understanding of what you are doing and what you want to do before you ask AI to support you. So in terms of using those kinds of tools, it should be a support function into assisting you to enhance your work, rather than asking using AI to do things for you.
Thank you for that, Kavisha. Colleagues, questions from the room? Any questions to the panelists? This is your time now. Questions? Yes, the gentleman at the back there, yes.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Yasser Buchana. I'm from the HSRC. I'm a computer science scientist by training. My question to the panelist is, you know, in recent years, people have been extremely excited about AI. And the funny thing is AI has been with us for a very long time. It's only in the last couple of years, 2 or 3 years, that generative AI specifically, let me say generative AI, when you say AI, most people think, I mean, the average person on the street just thinks that AI is generative AI, but AI is more than that. Now the challenge becomes from a government or a policy perspective, especially in the context, in our current context here in Africa. I have seen a number of governments adopting or formulating AI policies that are not even, they're not even in alignment with their own current context in Africa, because simply because the WEF is saying you need to have an AI policy. My question is, how do we as South Africans or Africans develop policies that are in alignment with our current context, especially AI policies? Because inevitably AI is going to be with us for a very long time, and it's a very, very powerful technology, but yet it is a very stupid technology, only relies on the data that you give it. So I would like to hear from the panelists, how do we design policies, AI policies, that are in alignment with our own current context? Thanks.
I think with AI, it's not something that's fixed, where you use it for one or two things. There's so many things that we can use AI for. So it's first to understand how we can integrate it into society, and to see where the uses are and how we're going to use it, and then start with policy in using AI.
Aaron?
I think when it comes to AI, we have to learn from practice what other countries have done in that regard. Also, usually government is reactive, not proactive. So sometimes we have to wait for things to arrive before we make policy. So there is no easy answer, but research is important, understanding what's happening around the world, what other countries are doing, what are the best practices when it comes to certain policies about AI in different industries. Yeah, also I think proactive way of looking at what's happening around the world, and have a discussion, white paper on certain areas would help.
No, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, all right. More questions, colleagues? More questions? I know many of you, before you go.
May I come in online?
Yes, please. Sure.
Thank you very much. My name is Vuyo from the HSRC.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yes. I just wanted to ask a question, comment. One of those I did say in the last session, I'm one of those who has witnessed quite a few things. Biotechnology for one. In the 80s, 90s, we thought we could just delete and switch on and switch off genes and splice and integrate them. But it has not happened the way that we imagined. So, and I would like to suggest and ask a question, and I want to link with what was said in this morning about mission-oriented policies. And we'll talk about our socio-technical imaginary. I think if we do not have a socio-technical imaginary, AI is going to be as meaningless as biotech has been for us in Africa. So I'd like to hear the views of the panelists and anybody else. What is our socio-technical imaginary vis-a-vis AI? Because we've got to imagine that future and say, this is the future we want, and work on it, as the first speaker said, towards we have a mission-oriented approach to the application of the AI that one of the speakers has said, that is contextual, is everything else. So what is our socio-technical imaginary? Thank you.
And I want to add also to that, can we trust AI?
Thank you. I think AI is already here. That's something you can't dispute. I'll tell you just an example of how I use AI in my daily life. So I've got frequent Teams meetings that I need to attend. So when I'm doing Teams, by default, I record the meeting. I don't need to take notes. I don't need to transcript. It does that all for me. All I do is I ask it to summarize the meeting that was happening. Obviously, I still need to go through that and understand what happened and validate that, because it's not in charge. I'm still in charge, but it assists me in terms of my daily life. The second part of it, if I've been on leave for 2 weeks, I go back to my email, my Outlook. I can ask Outlook, in the past 2 weeks, can you please flesh out any action items for me? Outlook will do that for me. Instead of me going through 200 emails, I've got a summary of what I missed in the past 2 weeks and any action items that I need to do. So that's obviously just a high level example of what AI is doing for me on a daily basis. So in terms of envisioning the future of AI, I think the possibilities currently is something that we don't see yet. Because if you ask a couple of people in this room what AI means for you, you get different answers because of the possibilities that are out there with AI. And that's why it's also very tricky with it, because if you get one person that's scared of it, some people will say AI is bad for society. But because we haven't defined it and we haven't had a collective sit down to say, what does AI mean for us as a humanity? And then if you look at it now from an African context, we're already chasing AI because the rest of the world has started embracing it. And they've started looking at the policies that we're speaking about now. And in terms of going forward and looking at what the possibilities are, I believe that with the people that we've got in this room, we've got enough brains to start looking at the research and putting together what AI looks like in the future in the African context. Thank you.
Wants to take that. And in fact, he's quite right that with AI anyway, they gave it a problem and also to try and solve a medical disease. Its diagnosis, they were saying it's very good at about 90%, but actual human beings, they scored around 68% in terms of accuracy. So human beings, it's AI is a bit ahead in terms of proper diagnosis. Now, I'm not saying that there were some bogus doctors in there. So, but that's what they're saying. That's how accurate AI can be. Very good. Even myself, before I go to the doctor, I already know the diagnosis to some extent. I'm not saying that that replaces the doctor, but at least I have an idea. Thank you. Yes, you can go ahead, colleagues.
Yeah, I think to fast track on the skills that we're lacking on AI is to invest in entrepreneurs, the people who actually have the technical skills in AI, because AI is now immersing itself into every sector, and people who are comfortable with taking that risk. I was chatting to someone earlier, and they were talking about someone who was doing a PhD in chemistry. And their PhD ended up being something in AI that could identify different things. So it's a good investment for government to make, is to find these experts as entrepreneurs and to expose them to different sectors. And I think you mentioned partnerships as well, to expose them to different sectors, and so that they can work with people in identifying how can you use AI in your sector? So not everyone has to then move into a tech background.
Yes, more questions. If Meron, you want to add?
I think the most important thing is awareness. Awareness of technology, awareness of what are the possibilities. You cannot create something you don't understand. So in terms of socio-technological, socio-economic future that we would like to see, policymakers don't understand AI properly in the African continent in general. I think I am generalizing. There are pockets of understanding, but in general, we don't have a good understanding of what are the possibilities, what could happen. For instance, if you go to place like Japan. It's a different world in terms of technology use, how intrusive technology is in their life compared to Africa, for instance. So you cannot create what you don't understand, and it should start from awareness.
We have, yeah, about 5, 6, 7. Oh, I'm happy. There's so many questions. 1, 2, oh, 5. All 5 will go. Okay, go ahead. You can start here. 2, 3, 4, and there's someone at the left side, and see at the end as well. Okay, go ahead, colleagues.
All right. Thank you very much. My name is Odilila Ayodele from the HSRC. And thank you for a very interesting panel. One thing that was missing for me, in your discussion is discussions about or deeper discussions around what AI means for a service optimization in the public service. And, we saw SARS, illustrate autonomous governance. And I was thinking, okay, what does that mean going forward? Because we don't have, a strong infrastructure base to ensure that all the different parts of government work together, or all the different parts of the public service. Just recently was the IceGov, the International Conference on Electronic Governance, and the very big discussion was on digital public government, and I was like, wow, we don't, digital public infrastructure, and all these countries, including Nigeria, were having these discussions, and I was like, but in South Africa, you hardly hear that when we have the brains and we have the hunger to make everything work. It's like on paper, everything is fantastic, but in reality, we're not doing the things that we need to do to get from point A to point B. So my question really is, what can we do moving from here to move from point A to point B for optimization of the public service?
Thank you for that question. Let's take all the questions for now. I know we had 5 people. Are you noting, or you want to address one by one? You want to take this one? Okay, let them take this one.
Yeah, I think it's something that I mentioned earlier about building networks. And I think someone in the panel also mentioned something about government officials don't have the tech capabilities. So it's about building a network on who are the experts. Government officials are the policy makers, and people are still not working together and collaborating and harnessing strengths. I can call it that. We're not harnessing strengths in all spheres as yet.
I think the infrastructure part, right? The first thing around artificial intelligence is that the infrastructure that's required to power what we call AI is really expensive. So I think obviously the government needs to understand that, and they need to have a plan around that, because we can't keep relying on obviously companies that are from outside to come in and build the infrastructure, and we use maybe their infrastructure. So that's the one thing. Obviously, there's entities like CETA that obviously need to start taking a lead around the actual infrastructure that we'll be using for this AI, because the power that's behind AI and managing all those computers that power up AI is quite expensive. So that's one thing, obviously, that government needs to start planning around. And that's why it's hard to have that infrastructure conversation, is because of the nature of that power that's needed to power up these AI tools. The second part around digitization, we've started seeing pockets of that happening. For example, make an example from the Eastern Cape, Department of Arts and Culture have started digitizing their museums. So they're starting to take images, starting to add that into a digital portfolio where you don't need to now go into a museum. You can go into a web page and you can search on that data. So obviously they're putting some of these AI technologies on top of that data, so that when they've scanned a document into the system, you can actually search that document on a web browser. So those are some of the small pockets of brilliance that are happening. Obviously in the Western Cape, we spoke about some things that are happening in there. There's also certain security systems or cameras in Joburg that have started using AI in terms of tracking things that are not so broken things in the public, and making sure that if, let's say, there's a water leak, they pick those things up so that the public sector can quickly fix or send someone to fix some of those issues that that camera is picking up. So there are certain things that are happening, but I think we definitely need a forum to learn from what is happening out there and to see how some of those problems that are being solved, we can look at solving it nationally. Thank you.
I think there is a huge gap between institutions like SARS that have highly sophisticated digital platforms and usage of AI, and municipalities that have barely functioning websites. So there is a huge gap in terms of infrastructure, know-how. But to answer your last question in terms of what's the future that we see in terms of digitization, we can potentially link the different departments that we have. If we have a smart ID, sophisticated ID that links different services. For instance, if one wants to access social grants, it links to his employment history, tax history, property ownership. So you link different services and make a decision based on that. So that's the future that I see. But it depends on having reliable identity documents, status documents that would actually inform different services. Thank you.
Next questions, colleagues. Yes, Mr. Gentleman, the
Good afternoon. My name is Shengiwe Makubane. I'm from Etegeni Municipality. Thank you for the thought-provoking discussions. I like the fact that you are referencing the African context, because I believe that South Africa, we are diverse in terms of language and also geographically. My question is, how can we incorporate indigenous knowledge in artificial intelligence to solve the issues that we have as South Africans? Dr. Kavisha, you spoke of affordability, access, and inequality. How can we ensure that the artificial intelligence assists us in resolving these issues? Thank you.
Well, part of the work that I do is based mainly in design thinking. And design thinking is about developing solutions. And a core focus is it starts with not about what we can use AI for. It's about how do we understand what the problem is and how best can we address the solution. And in my work, you don't know when you're understanding a problem what technology is going to be used or what's the best thing. It may not even be a technology. So I think in my first part when I talked about AI, I said we need to take a step back from AI and we need to understand, reflect on how do we get there. Are we doing problem solving? No, not really. Are we actively using design thinking? No, we're not. There are other ways also of problem solving and for innovation and developing solutions for innovation. So in terms of the innovation journey or the innovation cycle, it hasn't been introduced or integrated into the public sector and the private sector. People are not actually innovating. So I think that's the first step before talking about how we're going to implement technology is to try to develop solutions.
You good? Okay. Dr. Mbambo also was raising his hand at the back there.
Thank you very much, Chair, and the panelists. One of the crises that South Africa is facing is that one of unemployment. And in the main, youth unemployment. I know that the province of Western Cape has been ahead with the practice of e-government. And one thing that is unique with Western Cape is that they have the lowest percentage of unemployment amongst the 9 provinces. What I want to check, I'm not sure if I would be doing justice with the panelists from Western Cape, but maybe all panelists can respond. I want to check if, with the case of Western Cape, does the issue of e-government become a factor in helping with solving unemployment? Because I think that one of the contributing factors to unemployment in South Africa, especially for the youth, is that applying for a job is unaffordable itself. Where you have one having to travel from the rural to the city center to go to an internet cafe, access a job advert, print, go to a police station, certify, go to a post office to post documents, and so forth. But what you have with e-government, especially with recruitment, is that one can print one set of documents and use them to apply for 10 or 20 different posts. But it also doesn't mean that municipalities that have enrolled e-government are doing well in terms of solving unemployment. I know that here at home, you have had job seekers complaining that with e-government that has been enrolled in the city, they still get feedback a year later after they've employed for a post. So I just want to check that if we can learn anything from the practice of Western Cape, and how far can the issue of digitization help us in solving unemployment in South Africa? Thank you very much.
I am from the Western Cape, so I might be biased. It helps that we have a better run municipality, a richer municipality. That also helps. It's a complex question, I think. It has to do with the socio-economic factors within the province. But they also have a better digital platforms, I think. Also, their approach to digital services is what works. And it's across different services. And I found it from my experience and from my research, actually. It's a better run municipality, better digital services. One example that I can give you in terms of fighting crime, shot detection. When there is a gunshot in Michelle's Plain or Kalisha, there is a sensor that would tell them a shot has been fired. And that system links with their CCTV, also drones, potentially, and inform response. Now, in terms of the response, there is a lot of problem because there is miscommunication between South African Police Service and Western Cape government. There are other issues, political issues as well, but they have better. But there are that actually help the Western Cape. This is quite robust. There are other industries as well that support the employment. So there are different factors. It's not only technology. Thank you.
I'd like to add something, obviously not to solve unemployment, but to speak about the opportunities that we have with AI, right? There are certain careers that obviously will come out because of this technology. We spoke earlier on about making sure that you prompt the technology well to be able to get the correct results. Now there's a career for prompt engineers, which is a new career path. So there's certain careers that obviously will also be born out of this technology that's in here. And another way we also need to look at it is that if the process for applying for a job is tedious, we need to start looking at innovating that process to make it easier for the people that cannot afford to have a way that's shortcutting that process so that they can also apply for those jobs. So that's maybe two things that I can leave for food for thought. Thank you.
There was a gentleman on the left, and yeah, maybe two more. And I know, how is it, Prof, with our time? Are we, how many? 7 minutes. Okay. Okay. We are past already. Okay, those two last questions, colleagues, and the panelists just be short with your answers. Thank you so much. Yes, let's have those two questions. We can have them one time, then we can, yeah, we'll be ending very soon. Colleague, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for the presentation. I did not manage to listen to all of it, but I think I'm going to focus on the sections that I had, particularly about the use cases of AI in everyday life, such as getting updates and notifications. And I think with also the background that the forces of digital transformation are irreversible and AI is going to be dominant in the future, but also taking into consideration the fact that here in Africa, we are not producers of technology, we are on the consumer side. And thinking about the differences in the values, and in this case, with large-scale economic implications, is then the multi-dimensional social marginal cost of implementing AI on a broader scale. Does it outweigh the potential benefits in the long run? For instance, we are currently seeing some of the problems even at school. I think many professors can agree. Today, most students are not reading. They just sort of have AI to do the work. So what is going to happen in those cases? Also in the sense of the various use cases, even in the social sphere, of how people are consuming technologies and the implications in some established social values. How do we begin to address issues and how are they going to shape the future of society, the development of skills and competencies among upcoming generations? How do you propose to sort of address those issues in the way technologies are being developed and also being implemented in the society? Thank you.
There was someone on the left side. All questions asked, or was it Sia? Okay, let's have the last question. Panelists just address both and then we close our session.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the panelists. My question is directed to Lonwabo, but other panelists are also invited to respond if they feel like. You spoke about the responsible AI principle, and in one of those, you mentioned accountability. Allow me to take a detour to the darker side of, of AI. Now, imagine someone who buys Optimus, this robot by Tesla, into his house. And he has a wife or a partner named Carol, right? And then the husband or partner suddenly says, Optimus, kill carrots. And then all of a sudden, he starts to hallucinate Optimus. And then he hears what? Kill Carol. Who becomes responsible? Who becomes accountable for that? Is it the husband or is it Elon Musk and his scientists? Thank you.
Hopefully that doesn't happen. So accountability rests with the producer. So you as the person who's building the AI or the technology, you need to make sure, we spoke about hallucination. So you need to make sure that there are guardrails with the product that you are producing. So from your programmer to the tester to the person who owns the actual product that's in the market, that's the person that's accountable. Obviously, you in the household, when you go buy a knife, right, and your kids get access to that knife, you as a parent need to make sure that they don't use that knife to hurt themselves. So you as well, obviously in your space, in your house, are accountable, but obviously the ultimate accountability is from the person that's building the actual product.
I think this is also a policy issue. You understand? We need to come up with laws in terms of determining who's going to be responsible. For instance, self-driving cars. If you get into an accident with self-driving car, who is at fault? Is it the company or who owns that car? There are a lot of questions, and government needs to be proactive in terms of discussing these problems. Thank you.
I think to address the first question, we can't avoid AI, we can't restrict AI. It seems like we can't control AI either. So we have to learn to adapt in the future. And it either has to be systems, or we just have to come up with innovative ways of doing things. It's already in schools. People at a young age are using AI to do work for them, to do things for them. So educators just need to learn how to alternate ways of doing things and learn how to incorporate AI, because it is going to be used in the future. And there are a lot of videos circulating about AI on how it's going to be integrated into our life later on. You ask it to open the door, open the fridge, read my email, and you just walk around in your house and you just ask it to do things for you. So that is how the future of AI is going to look. It is going to be doing things for us. So it's people that need to adapt and come up with different strategies on how are we going to coexist with AI.
Thank you so much, Kavisha. On that high note, the bottom line is AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. We just have to, embrace it. So on that note, colleagues, I want you to give a last round of applause to our panelists. Thank you so much. And I just want to ask Prof. Nyeni, any announcements? Yes. Don't forget to come for the other function, because I'll be one of the dancers there.
Working. Thank you so much, Prof. Mchapuri, and also the panelists. I think, Honorable, you are driving us towards being controlled by technology somehow. I think this is also it's a new form of capital accumulation. So with those, then I don't want to dwell much on that, but I want to give some few directives. But I also want to thank delegates for being good delegates for the first day. Since we have behaved, the only person who didn't behave was my program director. That's why I fired him. That's why he's no longer here. But because delegates, they behaved, we are going to have what they normally call in the language, the gala dinner, in this same venue. We'll be converting this venue to be a dancing venue this afternoon or this evening. So the point I'm trying to make is that we still do have another session that will start at 6. We will only have one keynote address from our acting university dean of research, and thereafter I will have some entertainment with colleagues. But I also want you to make sure that you got tickets for the gala dinner. If you did not confirm that you'll be part of it, and now you have decided that you want to be part of it, you can go to the registration desk and make sure that you don't get disappointed in the evening.
So I'm sure that once we have done that, we will not forget that tomorrow we are continuing. And tomorrow we'll be continuing because we'll have 2 or 3 powerful, so to say, sessions, but also with a number of also breakaways where delegates or presenters will also be present. So with all those said, then, thank you so much for participating, and thank you so much for being good audience. And I'm sure outside, you will still get a cup of tea outside if you go out. But remember to be on time at 6 so that we can welcome you. Thank you so much.